Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Oldham County Fiscal Court. I'm Judge Executive David Vogel. It's first day August 2017. We're very happy to have all of you here today for our meeting. I'd like to ask you, if you have a cell phone with you, to please turn it to off or vibrate, because it can interfere with our PA system here. At this point, we always stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, and today I'm going to ask Jonathan Gadberry, who is here with us, a Boy Scout. He's the son of Chuck Gadberry, and I'm going to ask him to please come to the podium and lead our Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Jonathan. Did a good job. And you'll say that pledge many times over your lifetime, and we all try to say it with all the sincerity and love of our country that's in our heart. Also, before we start today's meeting, I want to note that today is Magistrate Steve Greenwell's birthday. And I actually had a request, not from Steve, but from some others, to sing happy birthday to Steve, all right? How about that? All right, I'll lead, but there's some others here that have to chime in, all right? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Steve. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you very much. Tina Schaff is probably going to pay for that one. So.
All right. Well, I heard a couple of sour notes in there, but all of us aren't as good at singing as some. But,
Judge, you do know what they say, the older the violin, the sweeter the music.
Yeah, hey, that's it. And I won't ask you how old you are today, because that wouldn't...
64, I'm proud of it.
All right, great, good. It's a good age. 60s are the new 50s, and I think the average age here is probably moving up to about 60. I don't want to take a survey here, but
yeah, you and Carter are dragging us down.
I know. We might be dragging you up. I mean,
dragging us down.
The other way. All right, Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Magistrate Likens.
Here.
Magistrate Tice.
Here.
Magistrate Leslie.
Here.
Magistrate Greenwell.
Here.
Magistrate Hounds.
Here.
Magistrate Eldridge.
Here.
Magistrate Dye. Here. Magistrate Logsdon. Judge Vogel.
Here. Having 8 of the 9 members of Fiscal Court present, this meeting is now in session. Is there a motion to accept the agenda?
So moved.
Second. Is there any discussion about the agenda? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Now our procedure here is to ask our Fiscal Court to read the minutes from our July 18th meeting. That was our last meeting.
July 18th, 2017. The Oldham County Fiscal Court convened at a regular meeting at 2 p.m. with Judge Executive David Vogel, County Attorney John Carter, and the following magistrates in attendance: Brent Likens, Wayne Tice, Bob Leslie, Steve Greenwell, Chris Hounds, Kevin Eldridge, Bob Dye, and Michael Logsdon. Motion made by Magistrate Dye and seconded by Magistrate Likens to approve the agenda as submitted, adding Windstream Services contract renewal under committee recommendations. Motion carried unanimously. Motion made by Magistrate Hounds and seconded by Magistrate Logsdon to approve the meeting minutes of June 29th. Motion carried 8-0-1. Magistrate Leslie abstained. Public comment. Curry's Fork Watershed Coordinator Jen Shen announced a stream cleanup and creek bug fun event July 19th, 9 to noon. For more information can be found on its Facebook page, Curry's Fork Watershed. Oldham County Fair Board Representative Ray Ann Foley announced Oldham County Fair dates August 1st through 5th and the many events scheduled throughout the week. For more information, call 222-5248, visit website oldhamcountyfairgrounds.com, or check them out on Facebook. Robert Stolworthy, LaGrange resident, spoke to the court regarding concerns relating to Oldham County EMS and rates for a recent ambulance run. Judge Vogel responded. Ballersville Fire Protection District budget presentation. Ballersville Fire Chief Steve Fonte presented information relating to its budget for fiscal year 17-18 and ad valorem tax rate and responded to questions from the court. Pewee Valley Fire Protection District Board Chairman Joe Burkhart and Fire Chief Bob Hamilton presented information relating to its budget for fiscal year 17-18 and ad valorem tax rate and responded to questions from the court. Former Westport Fire Chief David Pendleton presented information relating to its budget for fiscal year 2017-18 and ad valorem tax rate and responded to questions from the court. North Oldham Fire Protection District Board Chairman Randy Shear and Fire Chief Tim Conway presented information relating to its budget for fiscal year 17-18 and ad valorem tax rate and responded to questions from the court. Magistrate Leslie left the meeting at 3:12 p.m. Sheriff Property Tax Settlement 2016. Chief Deputy Sheriff Bob Noble presented the property tax settlement for 2016. Motion made by Magistrate Logsdon and seconded by Magistrate Hounds to authorize the Judge Executive to sign the Sheriff Property Tax Settlement Report for 2016. Motion carried unanimously. Bid opening for partition walls at John Black Community Center. The following sealed bids for the partition walls at John Black Community Center were open and read aloud for the record. OK Interiors, $31,800. Open Spaces, $37,300. Schiller Architectural, $45,000. U.S. Specialties, $36,520. Bid opening dump truck bids. The following sealed bids for dump truck with snow plow and spreader capabilities were open and read aloud for the record. Kentucky Truck Sales, $120,557. Peterbilt of Louisville, $132,965. Ewell Truck Sales, $124,859.74. Worldwide Equipment, $131,928. County Administration, payables. Motion made by Magistrate Hounds and seconded by Magistrate Likens to approve the payables. Motion carried 7-1. Magistrate Greenwell voted no. Final fiscal year 17 budget transfers. Motion made by Magistrate Tice and seconded by Magistrate Dye to approve the budget transfers as presented. Motion carried unanimously. Community business. Second reading, ordinance refinancing 2009 GO bond for OSEA. Chief Financial Officer Stan Clark presented for second reading proposed ordinance number KOC 17-22414 relating to refinancing 2009 GO bonds for Oldham County Environmental Authority, and the floor was open for public comment. There being no public comment, the public hearing was closed. Motion made by Magistrate Tice and seconded by Magistrate Eldridge to adopt ordinance KOC 17-22414 relating to refinancing the 2009 GO bonds as submitted. Motion carried unanimously. Second reading for the zoning map amendment, Pine Ridge Development, 1824 Pine Ridge Road, LaGrange. Magistrate Eldridge recused himself from this item due to a conflict of interest and left the room. Senior Planner Amy Alvey presented for second reading proposed ordinance number KOC 17-92412 relating to a change in the Oldham County zoning map, rezoning a 5.02 acre tract located at 1824 Pine Ridge Road, LaGrange, from the existing R2 residential zoning classification to C3 commercial general business district zoning classification. Attorney Jim Williamson, 206 West Jefferson Street, LaGrange, representing the applicant, Mr. J.W. Hall, provided an introduction and testimony in support of the application for zoning change. Mel Milburn, engineer, 3907 Clark Point Court, Crestwood, spoke on behalf of the application. The following were present and sworn prior to speaking in opposition of the proposed ordinance: Adam Bear, Anna Kaiser, Jay Kraus, Gary Britko, Johnny Roberts, Jeff Hutchinson, Stacy Haney, Tiffany Kramer, Alan Sawyer, Linda Rosenquist, Robert Stolworthy. Fiscal court members asked questions of the applicant and those opposing the application, to which they responded. In addition, J.W. Hall, applicant, and County Engineer Scott Harris responded to questions and provided testimony. Final statements were presented by the opposition and the applicant, and the public hearing was closed. Discussion followed. Motion made by Magistrate Tice and seconded by Magistrate Likens to adopt proposed ordinance KOC 17-92412 relating to a change in the Oldham County zoning map, rezoning a 5.02 acre tract located at 1824 Pine Ridge Road, LaGrange, from the existing R2 residential zoning classification to C3 commercial general business district zoning classification for the following reasons, as stated by the Oldham County Planning Commission at its May 23, 2017 hearing. Because there have been major changes of an economic, physical, or social nature within the area involved, which were not anticipated in the adopted comprehensive plan and which have substantially altered the basic character of such area. Major change being the amount of commercial zoning that surrounds the property, changing the basic character from rural to more business-type area, with the addition of one binding element stating the approximate 59-foot road easement will be the responsibility of the developer. Discussion followed. Motion carried 7-0 on a roll call vote with Magistrate Eldridge recused. Judge Vogel and the following magistrates voted yes: Brent Likens, Wayne Tice, Steve Greenwell, Chris Hounds, Bob Dye, and Michael Logsdon. Judge Vogel called for a 5-minute recess. Motion made by Magistrate Greenwell and seconded by Magistrate Hounds to resume the meeting. Motion carried unanimously. Magistrate Eldridge returned to the meeting. Contract agreements and resolutions. Waste tire collection event agreement. Motion made by Magistrate Hounds and seconded by Magistrate Eldridge to authorize the Judge Executive to sign the 2017-18 Waste Tire Grant Agreement. Motion carried unanimously. 800 radio system change orders. Motion made by Magistrate Hounds and seconded by Magistrate Greenwell to authorize the Judge Executive to sign the 2 change orders with Motorola Solutions relating to the 800 radio system project. Motion carried unanimously. Committee recommendations. Road Committee erosion control bond release. Motion made by Magistrate Greenwell and seconded by Magistrate Logsdon upon the recommendation of the county engineer to release the $8,500 erosion control bond for High Grove Section 1. Motion carried unanimously. Human Resource Committee Dispatch Director job description. Motion made by Magistrate Logsdon and seconded by Magistrate Likens to approve the job description for Dispatch Director. Motion carried unanimously. Windstream Communications renewal contract. Motion made by Magistrate Dye and seconded by Magistrate Greenwell to authorize the Judge Executive to sign the renewal contract agreements with Windstream Communications relating to voice and data services in county buildings. Motion carried unanimously. Personnel actions. Dispatch. Motion made by Magistrate Logsdon and seconded by Magistrate Hounds to promote Tim Keel to Dispatch Director at $66,138.72 a year, effective July 19th. Motion carried unanimously. Motion made by Magistrate Logsdon and seconded by Magistrate Hounds to hire Ashley Alstott as Telecommunicator 1 at $15.08 an hour, effective July 30th. Motion carried unanimously. Police. Motion made by Magistrate Hounds and seconded by Magistrate Greenwell to hire Officer Jackie Davidson at $24.02 base hourly rate, effective July 19th. Motion carried unanimously. Motion made by Magistrate Logsdon and seconded by Magistrate Dye to hire Officer Christopher Herbstreith at $22.66 base hourly rate, effective July 19th. Motion carried unanimously. Board appointments. Oldham Board. Motion made by Magistrate Logsdon and seconded by Magistrate Eldridge to reappoint Bob Dye to the Oldham Board with a term to expire July 16th, 2021. Motion carried 7-0-1. Magistrate Dye abstained. LaGrange Fire Protection District Board. Motion made by Magistrate Tice and seconded by Magistrate Likens to appoint Gary Jones to the LaGrange Fire Protection District Board to fulfill John Glauber's unexpired term through June 30th, 2018. Motion carried unanimously. Second public comment, none. Announcements. Magistrate Likens brought forth issues relating to stormwater projects, alternative detour routes for traffic when I-71 shuts down, and TV recycling. He attended Creasy Mahan's dedication ceremony for his new playground. He announced the building maintenance committee will meet August 1st at 12:30. Magistrate Greenwell stated Oldham County Day was great, beautiful weather, and a great turnout. He shared some information regarding KYTC's road project on Highway 53 at LaGrange Parkway and stated Blakemore Lane will be closed for 3 days, July 19th through the 21st. Magistrate Hound stated Oldham County Day was successful and a lot of people came through the fiscal court booth. He sent some frequently asked questions to the fire districts to address during their budget presentations. Magistrate Eldridge explained the reason for recusing himself during the second reading public hearing for the proposed zoning change at 1824 Pine Ridge Road because of a conflict of interest and that his aunt owns the property. He thanked Cherrywood residents for participating in today's proceedings. Magistrate Dye announced construction continues on Highway 22 by Dairy Queen across from Maples Park, and drivers should be extra careful. Judge Vogel announced Homerama is this week in Oldham County and Poplar Woods off of Highway 42 and encouraged the community to attend. Motion made by Magistrate Logsdon and seconded by Magistrate Eldridge to adjourn the meeting. Motion carried unanimously. The meeting was adjourned at 6 p.m.
Heard the reading of our minutes from July 18th. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Are there any corrections? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Time now for public comment, the time during the meeting when anyone from the community who has a point of a community interest that they'd like to present is able to do so. Welcome, Jim Urban.
Sheila, would you put on the overhead, please? Good afternoon, Judge, magistrates, and all those in attendance and watching. What I wanted to do was tell everybody about the paving project on Kentucky 53 and some of the lane changes, in particular in the intersection of Kentucky 53 and 146 here in downtown LaGrange. KYTC began paving Kentucky 53 on Sunday night, and already there's some restriping and a new traffic pattern. And again, in particular, and I hope you can see this, it's a little bit of a shiny image, but this is the intersection of Kentucky 53 and 146. This is 146 and 53. North on this particular aerial is to the top of the page. And if you can see this, it has changed the traffic patterns in that intersection. For the most part, every direction has a dedicated left turn lane, and that's going to be something a little new for people to get used to. It used to be that some movements you could go straight in both lanes, some you could go straight only in the right lane or left lane, but this is a new pattern trying to make it easier to navigate through this intersection. Once we get used to it, I think it'll be a good improvement. So again, every direction has a dedicated left turn lane. So people have to watch that if you're going to be going straight, you need to be in the right lane. If you're going to turn right, you should be in the right lane. For traffic moving across 146 straight through the intersection, again, if you're in the correct lane, there's really not much difference. You're either going to go straight through the intersection or take a left turn. What's different is the north and southbound movements on Kentucky 53. And the biggest change is coming from the north, heading south into downtown LaGrange into this intersection. These lanes used to be able to, both lanes could go straight, and the right lane you could also turn right. And right now, again, everybody is going to have a left turn movement in the left lane. So if you want to go straight through the intersection heading towards downtown or I-71, you have to be in the right-hand lane. The other significant difference is that when you cross through the intersection, this used to be 2 lanes going south towards the railroad track, and now there's only 1. And the reason that happened is because heading north through this intersection, the transportation cabinet restriped these lanes so there'd be a dedicated left turn lane, and then the right lane would have both through traffic and the right turn. This is the one that used to be, if you were in the right lane, you had to turn right. Now you're going to go straight, so it's going to be a little confusing for some people. What they did was they restriped away from the curb, and they moved the lanes over so that tractor trailers could make this right-hand turn going on to Kentucky 146 heading east. So that's a very significant change to make trucks move through this intersection, and that's why that southbound lane goes away. There's, again, only 1 southbound lane here for a distance, and then it tapers back into 2 lanes as you hit about where the halfway through the block, we're heading towards the train tracks. The stop bars have also been moved back from the intersection, and again, that's so that trucks moving through this intersection can get through there while cars are sitting in queue for a red light without interfering with truck movement. And eventually there will be traffic signals there, and I say eventually. We've selected a particular light standard. Those have been designed and ordered. They're not in yet. We don't know the difference yet between the standard silver poles and these new cast iron poles that have cantilevered arms, only because the cabinet knew we wanted them. They went and designed them and got them on order, and now they're designing the old system and then telling us what the difference is. And I can't tell you what that number is, but it's still somewhere less than $15,000 per pole. And I'm sorry I don't have a number. I've texted Kevin Bailey at the Transportation Cabinet, and I still don't have an answer as of now on what that cost is going to be. The other question I was asked that I'm waiting on an answer for is, will the signal heads have a left turn arrow? And I don't have that answer yet either. Again, because we have dedicated left turn lanes, and they're all going to be making that movement at the same time. I don't know if they're putting a left arrow or just a green light. And so I'll update you if at the end of this fiscal court meeting we have time at public comment and I have an answer. I'll come back up here and give you those answers if I get a call.
All
So with that, I'd be glad to answer any questions that you all
Have
might
any
have.
questions, Magistrate Eldridge?
Thank you, Judge. Jim, I know that there is a light coming, but where the problem is, in the meanwhile, I'd had 2 complaints on it, and then I saw it for myself today. If you look at there where it says south leg lane widths, and
Yes,
how those turn lanes are pulled back,
yes.
if you are in a smaller vehicle and there's a larger vehicle, or in particular a tractor and trailer, in that right lane to make the right turn, you cannot see out into the intersection to see if there's anybody getting ready to turn left in front of you.
Sure.
And the couple of near accidents that I saw today were both caused by that, just from lack of vision until that light comes in.
Yeah, until the light comes in, that's going to be just a pay attention kind of scenario. All movements are still at, if it's a 4-way stop, everybody's just going to have to creep past the stop bar and kind of get out there. Those of us that have been in the intersection many, many times kind of get that rhythm. It's north and southbound, east and westbound. Somebody that's new gets it out of rhythm, and certainly that sight distance is an important factor. So we anticipate that they're going to start putting the bases in for the lights real soon, and then once the lights are ordered and in, it doesn't take them long for the manufacturer to bring them in. So I'm hoping that within the next 3 weeks, we'll have the traffic signals up there.
Magistrate Dye.
Yeah, they're going to put aerial signs above the lanes.
I don't believe so. I think that's why I'm asking, they're going to, obviously the pavement is marked, and I'm asking whether they're going to have left turn arrows. And if they have left turn arrows, then people will sort that
They're going to
out.
assume people are going to know what to do when the snow covers the arrows.
I'm not the designer of this project,
I know,
sir.
I
I'm
just-
just the messenger.
Yeah, okay. All righty, thank you.
Magistrate Greenwell.
Jim, again, to the non-standard poles, they're going to make them, did you say, and then tell us what they're going to cost?
Well, yeah, they put them out for bid.
Okay.
So once they get the bids in, then we'll know what the number is.
And then it'll come back to court.
Yeah, and those are, the manufacturer makes those all the time, and they turn them around in like a matter of 2 days. So once they actually award the bid, once we know what the number is and say, okay, we agree to that amount, then they'll go ahead and manufacture them. But
Okay.
it's not what they've assured me, it's pretty easy for them to go ahead and put them in, and, build them rather,
I see.
and ship them, so.
Thank you.
All right, thank you,
Thank you,
Jim.
Judge.
Is there anybody else who would like to address the public comment section of the meeting? All right, seeing no one, I'm going to go on to our first presentation. That's the LaGrange Fire Protection District budget presentation.
Good afternoon.
Several representatives here.
Sure. I'm J.D. Tice. I'm the attorney for the LaGrange Fire Protection District. I have with me today Major Keith Smith and Amy Albee, who's the chairwoman of our Board of Trustees. And we're here today to present some information on our budget and the tax rate. At our July meeting, the Board of Trustees for the LaGrange Fire Protection District approved a dime tax, which is essentially a 10-cent tax per $100 of assessed value. This is the same tax that we've levied for the past 8 to 9 years. The anticipated revenues based upon the PVA tax rolls that we've received would be $1,568,900. We've provided the fiscal court, I believe, with a copy of our anticipated budget for the 2017-2018 year. Our 3 biggest items for that budget are payroll, which is just paying our firefighters, debt service, which is the bonds on our fire stations, and some of the loans on the fire trucks, and then general operations, which are things like supplies, equipment, maintenance, repairs, capital projects, things of that nature. There's no appropriation from our reserve balance towards this year's budget. A big reason for that is because we're anticipating a large payment to the fiscal court for the loan for the radios in our 2018 budget, and that money's been set aside in a reserve account and earmarked for the 2018-2019 budget because we know that's a payment that's going to come and due. In terms of runs, we've had 3 years of having 900+ runs for our department, and then just through about mid-July of this year, we were already at 478 runs. And in 2016, we ended up with 905, and at the same time last year, we were only at 431 runs. So we're ahead of schedule and on pace to break our record for runs in a year, which was 908 in 2015. In terms of future plans for the department, I know it's recently come before the board's attention that we need to do a facelift and renovation at Station 3, which is our station on Highway 42. It's our oldest operating station. Obviously, we just built new Station 1. Station 2 was built in Buckner in the early 2000s, so Station 3 is due for the next renovation and repair. I was provided, additionally, with some questions that I believe Magistrate Hounds had sent out. Usually, Chief Jim Sitzler makes this presentation with me. He recently had a knee operation, so he had some therapy scheduled today, so that's why Major Smith is with me. And then Chief forwarded me the questions and some of the answers. So in terms of how many average runs do you make, in the past 3 years, it's been around 900. 908 in 2015 was our high mark. We were at 905 last year, and then we're well on our way to pass that rate for this year as well. In terms of how many of those runs are EMS assists, 30%. In terms of how many EMT and first responders do we have 3 paramedics and 22 EMTs. In terms of a breakdown of our staff, we have 29 volunteers, 3 full-time employees, which include the chief, the fire prevention officer, who's Major Keith Smith, who's with me today, and then our office manager, Susan Ripperdan, who's in charge of general administration for the department. We have 4 part-time staff. That would be our deputy chief, maintenance officer, and 2 coordinating trainers, or training coordinators. And then we have 18 part-time employees who work 5 per shift, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., Monday through Friday. In terms of training hours per year, it's 147 hours per volunteer member. Our current ISO rating, which I believe we were just rated on ISO, I don't know if it was last year or the year before, but I was 4 for both in the city and out in the county. That was an improvement. Previously, we had been 4 in the city and 5 in the county. So now we're 4 across the board through all properties in our district, which certainly provides a savings to people who live in our district because it lowers their home insurance tax or home insurance rates. Our website is lfrd.org. That stands for LaGrange Fire and Rescue. We don't post the minutes on our website, but it's been standing practice to provide a copy of our minutes to fiscal court after every meeting, and then we also file them with the county clerk. And then in terms of what the fiscal court can do to provide the best possible service, Keith, do you want to talk about that a little bit in terms of PSA announcements?
I'll take about a second of your time. One thing that popped in my mind that maybe fiscal court could assist, at least LaGrange Fire Department and probably most of the departments out here. I know that we've got a really fantastic, I forget the name of the department, but with Mr. McDowell and the multimedia department or whatever, where we could do presentations on Channel 25, maybe allow and departments to come in and do, you know, little PSAs of some sort, whether it be in regards to replacing smoke detectors. I know we just did the one, or the fiscal court did the one about the address notifications and so forth not too long ago. I'd like to maybe have that opportunity to do some PSAs.
We're very open to having LaGrange and all the departments have ideas for public safety and home safety to come in. We want to use that service, and so you're very welcome, and we encourage you to come up with ideas.
Thank you, sir.
And that's all we have prepared. If there are any questions, we're happy to take them this time.
Anyone?
I have one.
Sure.
Keith, since we first started the signage ordinance, which took us over a year to write, and hopefully you've had a good chance to look at it, how well do you think that's going to help?
I think it's going to help a great deal. As a matter of fact, I don't know if you're aware or not, but we kind of promote the signs with LaGrange Fire Department. It's a 6x18 sign that we want to, you know, don't want to make any money off of it, just provide that service. And so we're offering that to anybody that wishes to have one of those signs produced. And I took a call from a lady this morning out on Ballard School Road. And she talked about how they had a chimney fire down that way earlier this year. And it took a few minutes to actually find that address. And she had heard about these signs, saw our display during Oldham County Day, and she wanted to order one of them. So that, along with half a dozen other comments that we fielded during Oldham County Day, and what I see out there, I think it's going to take a little while, obviously, to cover everything. But actually, I took an order from a business over in the Crestwood area to make a sign for them and for others. So I think it was a great effort by the safety committee, and something that was well needed. And we are offering those signs in green, but we also give equal opportunity to the U of L and the U of K sign. We've got them in red and blue also. I knew I couldn't get away without offering that. So
We never anticipated that.
yes, yes.
All right, well, thank you, and appreciate you being here today and providing the information.
Thanks.
We certainly encourage everyone who's listening and here in our courtroom and on television to take a look at your marking on your home. Our sign ordinance is intended to let our emergency service providers find you if you have an emergency. So it's very important that they not miss your home, so that your location's clearly marked. So please cooperate with the sign ordinance. Now I'd like to invite our next group to come forward, and that would be the South Oldham Fire Protection District. It's a pleasure once again to welcome Mayor Dennis Steibel and other members of his staff.
Thank you, Judge and members of the court. It's our pleasure to be here today. With me is, there he is, Chief Eddie Turner, Major Matt Nelson, and Wes Chapman, who's the treasurer of the district. Just a couple of things before I let them go over the numbers and the data that you're wanting to hear about. But South Oldham was incorporated in 1950. We now have 3 stations, one in the middle of Crestwood across from the pavilion, the second one on Old LaGrange Road, and the third one, which has been open a little over or nearly a year, is out on Old Zaring Road near what I used to call the old general store. We also own 5 acres of land out in that Brownsboro area adjacent to the school campus. We had originally intended on building a station at that location, but due to some infrastructure problems, it was going to be quite expensive. We were able to purchase this existing building on Old Zaring and did some rehab to it, and so we're now occupying that building at a savings of over $1 million to the taxpayers in South Oldham. Our tax rate in South Oldham has remained the same, just like the county's has for a number of years, at 9 cents per hundred. We're a department that has no debt. Everything is paid for. We have purchased 2 new pumpers with delivery scheduled in February to March of next year. Those units are paid for. We paid them early in order to save in the vicinity of $70,000 to $75,000 in expenditures if we would have waited until they got here. We operate primarily we do operate with both paid firefighters as well as volunteers, all professional, and we've had no major problems. Everything's running smooth, and with Eddie and the staff that he has, it makes my job pretty easy because they keep the things running. The board takes care of the fiscal side of it as long as we can rein them in and not spend too much money. Right. So I'll let Matt and Wes go over the numbers and take it from there.
How y'all doing?
Welcome. Good.
For the 2017-2018 fiscal year, South Oldham Fire Department is estimating that we will receive $1.7 million. This is a projected increase of $56,152.66, which is a 3.3% from the previous fiscal year. Our average runs we make a year is around 900. 494 of those are EMS runs, and we also have 18 EMT / first responders on our department. We currently have 33 volunteers on our department, and depending on the days, it's 4 to 6 career people on the fire department, 4 people on the weekends, and then 6 people during the weekday, Monday through Friday. Our current ISO rating is a split class. It's a 3x, and our current website is www.southoldhamfire.com. We do not post our minutes, but we do have a meeting every 4th Monday of the month that is open to the public. And that's all I have, sir.
That's all you've got to say, huh?
Yes, sir.
All right. Major Nelson?
Yes, sir.
You have anything you'd like to add? Or?
No, sir. Thank you for this opportunity.
All right. Well, that's certainly our pleasure. And Chief? Chief, you're pretty quiet today. Huh? Well, all right. Does anybody have any questions for South Oldham they'd like to ask? I noticed you had a sign up, volunteer recruitment sign. I guess probably all departments are trying to recruit additional people to flesh out their full-time. Is that correct?
Yes, absolutely. This is our 3rd year that all the departments have coordinated in conjunction to recruit and form a countywide recruit class. So we all pitch in collectively to provide training efforts, facilities, and equipment to train our recruits, and we have an excellent bunch of guys this year. But every year, usually between December and February to March, you'll see us recruiting, and we try to do that as a collective effort through the Oldham County Fires Instructors Association to make that happen.
Do all the departments, you mentioned coordinate training as far as, or do they go to separate locations, or where do you do your emergency preparedness training?
For our recruits, or just for the department's regular training?
But I know LaGrange, there was I don't know, something up here in Buckner where I saw, people were all people using that, or do people go to different locations, or?
That's our countywide training facility that is open to all departments to use. Each department pays a due every year to use that, and also help with the upkeep. Currently we have that wooden tower that's there in the metal building, which is brand new. Our plans for that are to remove the wooden tower, and this is our 2nd year in a row. We actually have a grant submitted to the Kentucky State Fire Commission to replace that and have a new modernized metal building in which we can do live fire training and search and rescue and technical rescue.
Okay. I didn't know if everybody used that facility or not.
Yes, sir.
Well, great. Mayor?
The last thing that I have is I'd just like to say I've been in the fire service for just a few years, but I think that...
You mean years or decades?
Well, yes, you can say decades. The fire service in Oldham County, I think, is as strong as it has ever been, with the mutual aid agreements between all of the departments and the shared training and the work that these guys have done, both volunteer and the paid staff. The county is well protected, and I think all departments are to be commended. There's still the rivalry. LaGrange and South Oldham or Pee Wee will jab each other in a joking manner, but when it comes time to provide the service, all of those crews get together and help one another to protect the community. So the service is strong, and as strong as I've seen it in my 5+ decades. So.
Well, we appreciate everybody in the fire service and everything they do, and certainly want to support you in any way we can. So we thank you for being here today. And,
Thank you.
Appreciate it. And, Mayor, before you leave, I'll give you an opportunity to give us a brief report on the Maples and how that's going.
Well, thank you, Judge. As I'm sure you all know, the Maples Park is under construction, turning a lot of dirt, putting in parking areas, walking trails. There'll be lighting, new entrances and exit. Proposed finish date's going to be around early October. I think it's going to be a great asset to the community. All of the barns are being rehabbed on the outside. Next phase will be hopefully in a year or so. We'll be able to rehab some of the insides for events that might need to be undercover. And today there's a lot of people that like to have wedding ceremonies or receptions in a barn. We also hope to put a splash park in within the next year to 18 months. So it's moving along, and I think the community and the county is going to be proud of it, and something that a lot of people can utilize. So.
Well, I know everyone will be proud of it, and we're all looking forward to it. It'll be a great addition to the park system in Oldham County.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate
the
the
Maples is a
opportunity.
new park. If you don't know, it's being built in Crestwood right across from the Dairy Queen on Highway 22. And it's really, how many acres do you have there?
There's 20 acres on what was the Finelli property, and that's going to be the Maples Park. We also own, from what I call the alleyway, from 22 over to the railroad tracks, another 4 acres to the west side of that alleyway, what's known as, depends on how far back you want to go, the old Moorhead Chevrolet or the old Parish Implement Company. But that, we own the KOI Auto Parts and the property where Christian Plumbing operates. So everything from the alleyway all the way to the park property, and then 20 acres of that. So.
Great. Well, we're looking forward to that opening.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Our next presentation will be today from the Extension District budget, and Ken Hepperman and a number of people have come we're going from Dennis Dibble to David Dibble now, and I'll be here. And I won't say which one of you is better looking. You're both good looking guys.
Thank you, Judge. I appreciate that. I know which one you think.
Okay, welcome.
Good afternoon, Judge Vogel and the magistrates. I want to thank you for the opportunity to be able to make this presentation today. I am Ken Hepperman. I'm chairman of the board of Oldham County Extension Board of Directors. As you know, with me is Mr. David Dibble. He's also on the board. We're here today to make presentation to the letter that was sent July 19, 2017 to Fiscal Court, in which the extension unanimously approved a vote to pass an ad valorem tax for the Extension District. As you're likely aware, Kentucky Cooperative Extension is the educational outreach for all of Kentucky. And the University of Kentucky helps Oldham County and the extension programs execute the education programs throughout. Actually, a little history about extension, because extension can be traced back in its roots to 1862, when Congress passed legislation creating land-grant colleges. University of Kentucky is nominated or is associated as a land-grant college. Well, in 1910, Kentucky legislation passed an act creating extension agencies throughout Kentucky. Now, if you leaf through quite a bit of the legislation, you'll come to a section that says, and I quote, "Kentucky Extension is to spread useful and practical information on subjects relating to agriculture, home economics, youth programs, and rural and community life, and to encourage the application of that information." Oldham County Extension has been doing that for decades. Oldham County Extension has been succeeding in doing that for years. Last year alone, they have chartered over 84,000 contacts with individuals, agencies, and nonprofits within Oldham County. And in addition to that, their volunteer service program logged over 50,000 hours helping out with individuals and other nonprofit organizations within the county. That's the good part. The not so good part, we've reached a limit for the demand of our services that are exceeding our resources of personnel and facilities. Reached the limit was possibly without cutting. If we cut back on programs, then what we're going to do is limit access to programs for the youth, for the families, for the homeowners, and for farmers. Moreover, because of our present limitations, we are unable to add new programs to our services, programs that clients and other agencies within Oldham County have asked us to participate in. For example, drug prevention programs, youth ag education programs, community gardens, commercial kitchen, and several environmental programs. With additional funding, we can maintain personnel and the facilities to be able to continue servicing and to create new programs for these Oldham County residents. We've had a very good working relationship with Fiscal Court for years. I want to thank you for all the support that you've given us for all of that time. But we've grown beyond what can and should be supported by the county. We have, therefore, made the decision to gain revenue support through an extension district tax. Now, Oldham County is not the first county to have an extension district tax. Oldham County is one of 6 counties in the Commonwealth of Kentucky that is not supported by an extension tax. Obviously, that means 114 counties throughout the Commonwealth are supported by an extension tax. On July 5th, we unanimously voted to approve a 1.5% tax per $100 on property on real estate, tangible property, motor vehicles, and watercraft. Now, we didn't just pull those figures out of the air. We researched and found 14 other counties in Kentucky that has the extension tax and looked at what the rates and what their dollar amounts of revenue are. The rates range from 0.88% to 3.3%. The dollars generated by those taxes range from $576 annually to $1.9 million annually. Our tax rate, 1.5, would generate $926,000 annually on average. So in advance of this testimony, we sent to Fiscal Court our amended budget for 2017 and 2018. This is to take effect this month for the budget year of 2017-2018. And what I would like to say is that everyone on the Extension Board of Directors, every agent and every staff member of Extension is an Oldham County resident and pays taxes to Oldham County. we did not take and make this decision lightly. The main thing, and one of the obvious things that we looked at, this is not just for us today. When we are gone, we're looking to provide a revenue support for extension throughout the county that can continue to provide services and education programs for all of the residents. At that, once again, I would like to thank you for all the support that you've given us throughout the years. And if you have any questions or comments, I would gladly take them.
Magistrate Leslie.
Thank you for coming today. I've got a question, and that has to do with your budget of capital improvement. What are you hoping to gain with that?
What we are looking to do is find a facility, either buy or construct, that is larger and can accommodate the agents and the staff and all the programs that we currently have and would have. So the capital improvements is going to primarily be for a new and bigger building.
So I guess with the, are you hoping to add staff, or the staff that you have unable to support the programs that you currently have?
Currently, we need additional staff right now, and we just don't have any room to put them. So yes, we would be looking to add staff.
Thank you. Oh, I had one other question. How many people are on your board?
There are 6 people on our board of directors.
Could you tell us who they are?
Obviously myself, Mr. Dival. Stand up. Nancy Dahlgren.
Joyce McKinney. Rob Miller. Valerie Shannon.
And the agents. Stand up, guys.
I'm Tracy Gibson. Kelly Woods.
I thank you all for coming today.
Magistrate Eldridge.
Thank you, Judge. Great presentation. Just wondering how this change in the way you're funded will affect your current UOK funding and your other revenue streams.
Our other revenue stream is primarily what U of K supports by paying for the agent salaries. Our new revenue stream will pick up all of the money that fiscal court now allocates to the extension, plus we would be paying the extension for the time being that we're using the building, a fair rent, and take care of the, the upkeep and so forth. So primarily, all of our funds will be used to support the extension.
But your current level of funding from UOK will not go down because you now have a different revenue stream. You'll still get support from UOK like you always have.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Magistrate Dye.
Now that you've made this move into the taxing world, have you all sat down and done like a 5 or 10 year, a focus to what you think you need? I mean, we know what your immediate needs are from what your original budget was, but have you looked at what, okay, this is what we think down the road where we're going to be? I mean,
as far as a building?
Building, staff, program, population is going to increase. I mean, they tell us what we're going to be in a few years. We always hear that up here, but I mean, your long-term goals. We know what your short-term needs are, but what's your long-term goals?
Our long-term goals, and if anybody can make a definite prediction out 5 years later from now, I'd like to see it. But
how about, let's call it a bucket list.
What we have is, what we're looking at right now is comparable to what Spencer County has put into place this past year. I think Judge Vogel has been out to look at their brand new facilities. Their new facilities would cover everything that I talked about here today, commercial kitchens and all the other programs and conference rooms. Their cost to put up a new building and cover all of that, we understand, is right at $2 million. So our long-term goal is to get architects, do the research, and expand, and we're probably looking at going in that direction to Spencer County because they're pretty close to what we are doing and what our size right now. Spencer County is also a growing county from all the transplants and people that are going out from Louisville. So they're going to be looking to grow and have their revenue increased also.
Thank you.
Magistrate Greenwell.
Thank you. Ken, I think you said that the highest taxing district in the state is 3.2%, did I?
3.3%.
3.3, and what county is that?
Hang on just a second. That is Laurel County.
Okay, and do you all have a cap on how much you can set your rate at?
To set our rate at,
Yes.
we anticipate our rate to stay at 1.5% for the next coming years. And we understand by Kentucky statute that there is a limit that we can raise, and I think that would be like 4% before, pardon me? Five, before we can do anything without an approval from basically the courts in the county.
Okay.
Anyone else have any questions here? All right.
I would like to defer just a few minutes to Mr. John Solomon. John has some just quick, short messages and let us know where he stands.
You need to say who he is.
John Solomon is our...
I can say who I am.
He can say who he is. He's our legal counsel.
Good afternoon, Judge Vogel and magistrates. My name is John Solomon. I'm with the law firm of Tackle Meek PLC in Louisville, and I'm really here to answer any questions that you have. I know that there have been questions out in the community about various legal issues possibly related to this. We don't anticipate any, and just to be clear, we are here today pursuant to a statutory obligation to present testimony to the court, and that's what Ken just did. The statute says it's not for the court to approve this tax or alter it or veto it or amend it. To be very clear, this is not the fiscal court's tax. This is a tax that was voted by the Extension District. And the way we read Kentucky law, once the Extension District votes the tax, the fiscal court has what the courts have called a ministerial duty, which is basically a non-discretionary duty to act as a conduit in cooperating to collect that tax. But to be very clear, the fiscal court isn't to take any formal action today. We're not here seeking any formal action by the fiscal court. And I thought what was interesting, just 2 years ago in Carroll County, and I can tender this up. May I approach to tender the Carroll County letter? I'll let that get passed out. But in short, what Carroll County did in circumstances exactly like these, where the fiscal court heard testimony from the Extension District, the fiscal court actually made clear in this letter that although they acknowledged the tax, they did not support it. And so I believe, there's probably various opinions among the fiscal court as to whether individual magistrates or, actually like this tax or don't like it or support it or don't support it. But as we see the law, it's not the fiscal court's duty to get involved, to approve this tax, to reject it, to veto it or modify it. We're just here today for informational purposes, and we don't believe that there's any additional action that the fiscal court needs to take. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Magistrate have a question they'd like to ask? I think Magistrate Likens.
I'd like to refer to esteemed John Carter, our attorney, to answer the legality of this new tax.
I don't have any questions. I've already given you my opinion. It's very detailed. The statute that authorized the extension tax had to be approved by fiscal court of the extension taxing district. That statute has been repealed. It was replaced on the same day by another statute that says fiscal court shall levy taxes and for certain purposes, and one of those purposes is for extension districts. There's been no new legislation authorizing a separate taxing district for an extension board. The extension board is to be funded solely through taxes collected by fiscal court. In regard to the rate, the limitations on the rate was repealed with the statute that authorized the extension district. The Attorney General's opinion said that he doesn't know what the rate is, but it would be the same as fiscal court, which is $50 on every $100 of taxation would be the maximum rate. So it's my opinion that you cannot have an extension board taxing district legally. That's my opinion for what it's worth. And I gave you all that. I gave the county judge that opinion back in November of 2015. And I've yet to see any detailed opinion that would be different than that.
If I may have permission to approach once again, I do have some materials, and I'm sure that the board isn't interested in necessarily receiving more reading materials. And Magistrate Greenlaw, apologize for not having a better birthday present for you. I understand this is not a court that typically hears legal argument, and I'm loath to get into it. I don't want to put anyone to sleep. But I am familiar with the county attorney's opinion. It's actually at tab 7 of what I just distributed. And without belaboring the point, and I, again, don't want to devolve into legal argument, Kentucky statute is clear that extension districts are their own subdivision of the Commonwealth, not subordinate to the fiscal court, but actually a standalone, independent subdivision of the Commonwealth. And you've got that at tab 2 of what I just distributed. That's KRS 164.620. Each extension district shall constitute a governmental subdivision of the Commonwealth. And although the extension district is a creation of fiscal court, because the General Assembly delegated to fiscal court the ability in each county to create an extension district, once that district is created, the statute contemplates that it's its own subdivision of the state of the Commonwealth. And so it does have taxing authority. You know, there are a number of opinions out there really from all over the state. The weight of legal authority has simply reached an opposite conclusion than Mr. Carter. And you've got at tab 3 the Special Districts Manual that's from the Governor's Office for Local Development. It talks about what a special district is. It lists extension as a special district. And at page 36 at tab 3, you can see that they recognize extension district as having tax power. At page 33, they talk about the process for having a tax, and it basically includes the district establishing the tax rate and the county clerk computing the tax on the tax bills, and then the sheriff collects the tax. Again, we're here today for informational purposes. At tab 4, you'll see the Office of the Governor, Department for Local Government. This is a screenshot from their website. They themselves list the Oldham County Extension District as having taxing authority. It's pretty well recognized both by DLG and by the Finance and Administration Cabinet. At tab 5, you've got an opinion of the county attorney for Bell County, who concludes, if a notice of a district tax is submitted to the fiscal court, the court is obligated to pass the notice to the PVA in order that the tax can be added to the property tax bills. So again, the fiscal court doesn't have to approve it or endorse it or like it, but in Bell County, at least, they reached the conclusion that the fiscal court had to acknowledge the tax and pass it along. The Nicholas County attorney at tab 6 reached a similar conclusion. She concluded that the board of the extension district may vote to levy a tax. The notice of the tax is then submitted to the fiscal court, which will simply acknowledge its receipt and pass the notice along to the PVA or appropriate authority, who would in turn add it to the tax bill. Again, that's a different opinion. And then at tab 7, you have Mr. Carter's written opinion, which I'm familiar with and which he just re-summarized here. I don't think it's necessarily inconsistent with our position, because Mr. Carter recognizes at the very end of his opinion, and I've highlighted it, if the extension district is otherwise an autonomous taxing district, fiscal court has no say in the levy of the tax, the collection of which is axiomatic just as with any other autonomous taxing district. We believe that's the situation we're in. I understand we have a difference of opinion, and it's certainly not going to be for the fiscal court, at least, to sort that out. But I thought this might be helpful to put it in context for the fiscal court, and I'm happy to answer any other questions.
If it's not for the fiscal court to sort it out, who is it up to?
Well, Judge Vogel, I think presuming that the fiscal court discharges this ministerial duty to acknowledge the tax and pass it along, I don't anticipate there'll be any kind of further action. In other words, if everything works the way it's supposed to, I think we're done. If somebody decides to take some other kind of action, then I think we end up in a court of law. But again, I don't think we're there, and I don't have any reason to think that that's where we're heading.
In your opinion, would the extension district have to come back to the fiscal court for permission to borrow money?
I believe if the extension district wanted to borrow money from the fiscal court, or if it wanted to have the fiscal court make any further appropriations to it, it would. But of course, with its own revenue stream now, I think the whole idea is that the extension district would not be coming back to fiscal court for any kind of financial support whatsoever.
Or authority to borrow any funds?
That's right. Like that. I mean, it will now be independently funded.
Anybody have anything? Magistrate Likens?
Have we got an opinion from CAECO on the legality of this? I know it's we have to answer to our constituents, and when you hold up your hands and say, I have no control over that, they still look at you like you should have had control over that. And I look at this as a new tax, and I can't recall how much do we fund the extension office with currently. It's in one of our budget
I believe
lines.
it is $288,000.
288. Okay. Thank you.
And without doing my client a disservice, I would just say we've made very clear on the record here today that this was the extension district's tax, and that this fiscal court had no role in setting the rate and suggesting it or approving it, and we're not asking the fiscal court to endorse it either. So,
I would just say this: fiscal court has to prove whether it goes on the tax bills. And if they approve that, they will tacitly approve the tax, which is about a $950,000 tax increase. $926.
and I would just say that based on those opinion letters that are in the packets I handed and the law that I'm familiar with, it's really for the fiscal court to acknowledge. It's not for the fiscal court to approve. So I think we need to be careful about the language. Again, no one's asking this fiscal court to approve a tax.
Let me just repeat that. If the fiscal court acknowledges it, you've tacitly approved it. And there's no opinion by any court that this is a legal tax.
Magistrate Greenwell, did you?
Well, the only thing I wanted to say was the only time this board or fiscal court acts in a judicial matter is as it relates to a zoning map amendment change, or at least that's always how it's been told to me. So I don't think that we, can approve or disapprove this, but I think if anybody challenges it, it has to be across the street. It's not appropriate in this courtroom.
I would agree.
I think we need to summarize, if I can, for people who are watching on the television, and perhaps some people in the room, I'm not sure, the Extension District Board and Council has met and decided, based on legal advice from Mr. Solomon and from, I believe, the University of Kentucky, that provided a couple of Attorney General's opinions, that it has had the ability, previously unused in Oldham County, but does have the ability to implement a new tax in the county at the rate that they have chosen of 1.5%, or 1.5 cents per $100. What that comes out to is that if you happen to live in a $200,000 home, that'd be about a $30 tax. If you live in a $300,000 home, it'd be like $45 tax per year. And that tax money would go to support the services of the Extension District. The Extension District it provides very valuable services. It works with hundreds of families, hundreds of kids, and a wide variety of very positive endeavors in this community. Prior to this particular action, the fiscal court on an annual basis has been providing funding for the Extension District. Our funding is run in the $200,000 to $80,000 a year range. In the current budget, we actually allocated $288, I believe is the number. We had another $100,000 set aside to help with a short-term building project. If this action stands as presented, I'm sure that the fiscal court at this point will withdraw its budget support for the current year if you're able to generate this money. The conflict between attorneys here puts the fiscal court between a rock and a hard place. We don't know exactly what to do. We recognize the need for money by this agency. We recognize our inability to provide any more than we have. We have a legal argument presented from two different directions. This morning I did speak with the legal counsel from the Department of Local Government who sides, if you want to say sides, with the Extension District and feels that it's a legal tax. He advised me that the fiscal court, and I want to make this very clear, that he said the fiscal court has no authority to approve or disapprove this action. Okay, we're low to put additional tax responsibility on people in the community. This group, the Extension District Council and Board, has been willing to take that mantle and responsibility to itself, and may perhaps need to justify to other people in the community not familiar with this service what services are provided, and that to the scope that it will open up new services and extend it to more people. Nevertheless, there are people in our community who are, we're an affluent community, but there are people whose tax burden we are very concerned about increasing. So we're all stuck in this conundrum, if you want to call it that. So I don't know what we can do today other than just thank you for coming, acknowledge what has happened, and it's very clear. Mr. Jennings is here from the Oldham area. We'll be counting on you to help make it clear to the community what this action is, and it was taken by the Extension Council and District, and is not something that the fiscal court is able to approve or disapprove. Acknowledge Mr. Carter has a slightly different opinion, and I guess we'll all have to talk about that perhaps at another date. So thank you for coming, and wish you the best of luck.
Thank you.
Anyone else have something they want to add? Magistrate Leslie?
The only thing I want to say is every year when somebody gets their tax bill, they immediately blame us, period. And it's not us. You know, we are not the highest tax person in the county. But regardless, when they get that total tax bill, they blame fiscal court. So I just thought I'd let you know that.
Yes, sir. And as I mentioned earlier, because we are also taxpayers, we did not take this whole thing lightly. We agonized over this thing, and we know what the reaction's going to be, but we felt at this point that we needed to do something different.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
I appreciate it, and once again, thank you for your support.
Thank you. The next presentation we have today is the Chamber Economic Development Budget presentation. David Bazanis is here, Executive Director of the Oldham County Chamber of Commerce. Welcome, David.
Thank you, Judge. While I don't have a member of the Diable family to join me, I do have our Board Chairman, Jonathan Westbrook, and our Assistant Director, Sandy Hamilton, here with me today. I appreciate this opportunity to get in front of you and be able to talk about some of the exciting things we have going on in our organization, and I'm here to answer any questions that you have moving forward. I'll also be presenting on behalf of the Oldham LaGrange Development Authority following this, so I'll try to be somewhat brief in my comments and leave lots of room for you guys to offer questions. I have a presentation here I can kind of walk us through. Okay. As I said, thank you again. My name is David Bazanis. I'm the Executive Director of the Oldham Chamber and Economic Development Authority. I've been in this role since January of 2016, and we've had an exciting time since our organization's gone through many changes over the years. I submitted a budget to you for our 2017-2018 year, which reflects a total of $352,800, of which approximately half of that is provided through public funding. Much of that comes through this body, also through partnerships with the City of Crestwood and the City of LaGrange. And the other half of our budget is provided through our top investor programs and our chamber membership and programs and events revenue that we generate through our chamber activities. We have two organizations essentially that are working under one moniker of Oldham Chamber and Economic Development. So I'll go through some of the structure of the organization just as a reminder. I also know we have a new magistrate who I've not yet had the opportunity to present, and also to kind of act as a reminder to you as what kind of structure our organization goes through. We feel like our chamber board is a great example of, and our chamber organization is a great example of a very productive public and private partnership, whereas our funding, as it's broken down between public and private revenue, we feel that is a very definition of fiscal responsibility on behalf of our public entities, in that less than 1% of this entity's budget goes towards funding our organization, but the partnership with the private sector allows a lot of involvement and a lot of carrying the water with a lot of the tasks that we have presented before us. So to oversee those efforts, we have a board of 16 board members. 5 of those are appointees, 3 of those through this body, through fiscal court, 1 through the City of LaGrange, and 1 through the City of Crestwood. Our staff is made up of myself, our Assistant Director, Sandy Hamilton, who's been a longtime Oldham Countyan and has made her career over the last several decades in working with commercial retail and development. She's done things as prestigious as work with filling out Oxmoor Mall, bringing Trader Joe's to the city of Louisville, working to develop Springhurst, and we're very fortunate to have somebody with her expertise join our staff to be able to help us grow Oldham County in such a quality way. In addition to that, we have a Chamber Services Manager, Kenisha Kelsey. Kenisha's role is to continue to operate the chamber. Her responsibilities include reaching out to bring in new chamber members, manage our programs and events, bring in sponsorships, and essentially she is in charge of the chamber arm of our organization. This represents somewhat of a shift of the role that we've had in our office, whereas in the past we've had one executive director who was responsible for economic development, and then we had an assistant director or an outreach manager at the time where would share their function would go for 50% of the time spending on chamber duties and then 50% of the time trying to support economic development activities. And what we felt like was that we could rearrange our budget in such a way that we bring on some very quality people to where we have 2 full-time professionals focused on economic development, myself and Sandy Hamilton, and Kenisha Kelsey be able to follow our, run our chamber. We also have a part-time office manager who comes in 2 days a week to help us with invoicing. Missy Klein's been with us for several years, and we're fortunate to have her as well. We are also contracted with the Oldham LaGrange Development Authority Board to help support them through administrative efforts and to help staff their administrative arm of what they do that we'll be talking about a little bit later. And then in our chart here, I've broken down into some of our standing committees that meet regularly. Our Economic Development Committee, Our Membership Services Committee, Public Policy Committee meets as needed, and then, of course, anytime we have a program or an event, we typically put a planning committee together made up of members and board members. Board members and chamber members. Here's a list of those directors. Jonathan Westbrook, as I said, is our chairman who's here today. Our incoming chair is LaGrange dentist, Dr. Winnie Bowling, and our past chair is Chris Rohde from Baptist Health LaGrange. Gary Hardy, Jason Morgan, and Ken Stess are all appointees of this body from the county. Zach Van Zant from the LaGrange City Council, and Jim Kramer from Crestwood. You'll also notice that we have a good mix of and a lot of representation of different types of businesses on our board of directors, going from small business owners to local business owners to larger business owners to even corporate and regional powerhouses like UPS, Brown-Forman, and many more. So I'll go into kind of talk a little bit about what our chamber functions as, and then I'll pivot and we'll talk a little bit more economic development. One of the important aspects we see our chamber's role is in helping cultivate the business community here in Oldham County. We do that through, of course, trying to create programs and events that give our business leaders opportunities to network and create new opportunities. But more importantly, we see our role as as an anchor to a lot of the other nonprofits that go on that are working here in Oldham County. So we've been working very hard under my tenure to try to build some good positive relationships with many of those. I've listed a few of those here. We work regularly with LaGrange Main Street Program, Oldham County Tourism, and so on. But our effort is that as not just for offering one another support, but also in a communication effort so that we all understand what our objectives are and we can work to those objectives collectively. In 2016's calendar year, we actually had a wonderful year as a Chamber of Commerce. At January of 2016, we had approximately 375 chamber members. We've just crossed over into the 400 chamber member mark. We put on over 40 events in 2016. We have growing attendance for our power hours and our golf scramble, and we've had record turnouts for our Business and Biscuits, Leadership Oldham County of the Year, and Celebration of Women events. We've also created some new events to try to freshen up some of the activity that's going on here in our community, and those include things like the Chamber Challenge, our holiday party, which used to be a cocktail party with hors d'oeuvres, and it was a nice get-together that we had every year. We decided to open up to the public and create a potluck. It costs nothing for our members to be a part of, costs nothing for the community to attend, and we were fortunate enough to have hundreds and hundreds of families come in to have their children take pictures with Santa Claus. All of the businesses that came in provided things. Papa John's came in and provided food. We had the Louisville Science Center there that had robots and whatnot for the kids to play with. And we're looking forward to doing that again and trying to grow it a little bit more this year. And then, of course, we're trying to experiment with some different ideas. I hope that the fiscal court's going to submit a corporate dodgeball team for next year's dodgeball tournament. And we're trying to drive a lot of this new engagement and new membership and new interest in our programs and events through some digital marketing strategies I'll expand on when we get a little bit further into economic development. So as far as economic development goes, what I thought was important to kind of discuss with you is I mentioned our public-private partnership early on. And I think that the most important aspect to maintaining a good, productive relationship is transparency and communication. I hope that that's the way this body feels as well, that they are happy with our connection with you. We've made an effort to have regular face-to-face meetings with many of you here. We meet regularly with the Fiscal Court Economic Development Committee under Chairman Tice's direction and work with them on trying to get some of the initiatives that we're trying to get through in the county hit the ground running. We have a close working relationship with our Planning Development Director, and we'll work regularly with his office to make sure that we're all communicating the same things and getting a good sense of exactly what we're trying to accomplish in the county as far as who we're trying to attract, and when we get a hold of somebody, where we're going to put them and how that will work so that we can accommodate not just the client and the project, but also be respectful and protect our quality of life that our citizens expect. And then, of course, we try to increase our community awareness. Any opportunity I get to go speak in front of a group and tell them about what's going on in Oldham County and tell our story is a really important part to us growing and achieving some of the things we're trying to do. So I'll talk a little bit about some of the initiatives, and I'll go through them here, and I'm going to break down just a handful of those to kind of give you a little bit more detail. But since 2016, we have created a new economic development website, oldhamsites.com. We've entered into a partnership with this fiscal court and the City of Crestwood and City of LaGrange to bring on retail development through the Buxton Partnership. I was here a few months ago and was able to present to you and enjoyed our work under this. We're making efforts that we're currently negotiating to bring a healthcare accelerator to Oldham County, and we're working on such things as trying to provide more IT and high-tech training for our qualified workforce through programs like Code Louisville. We have a retail sector cluster initiative that we're working with LaGrange Main Street on that's currently a model that we're trying to construct to see how we can better be engaged with our retail sectors. Right now we're focused on bridal to see how this potential partnership is going to work out, and if successful the way we think that it's going to be, we can take this model and we can use it for different industries around the county. And then of course we're also engaged in participating in all of the conversations and all the hard work that you're doing here through trying to focus on improving our infrastructure through our sewers and our roads and utilities. Of those, namely LaGrange Parkway's completion, improvements at exit 22, the improvements on Commerce Parkway, and then hopefully the new interchange, which we're trying to get accomplished here over the next several years. So I'll break down a few of these initiatives. The first one I want to talk about is our economic development website, oldhamsites.com. This is something we're very proud of. It's a work in progress. It's still very new. In 2016, we worked on putting this together. Up to this point, outside of the Chamber website, we really didn't have a place that concentrated all of the necessary pieces for somebody to come in and take a project from concept all the way to cutting a ribbon. So that effort, we've partnered with a company called GIS Planning, which gives us what we think is the absolute best data tools available to any economic development organization, including the State Cabinet for Economic Development, as a resource to site selectors who find our website. That data will let us know comprehensive understandings of consumer spending habits, traffic counts, programs. It will also, sorry, I've been sidetracked here, but also give us an opportunity to see where utilities are, and it puts it all into one concise area so that people, when they get on the site, they don't have to go to another website to find out more information. We also are, of course, linked to all of our counterparts here through the Planning and Development Office, through any of the other Oldham County Tourism, or any other necessary entities. And then probably most importantly is this is the first time Oldham County has had representation for its inventory online. In the past, if somebody is looking for a site, say that they're looking for industrial space somewhere in the state of Kentucky, they're likely to find websites like LoopNet and whatnot. What we've done is we went and we have partnered with a company to give us a feed for any listed commercial, industrial, retail spaces that are out there that are being listed. We have all concentrated into one site. And the difference is that this is not going to include sites from other communities, but strictly Oldham County. So you can find Oldham County, you can find a site for your project, you can generate all of the demographic, consumer spending habits, traffic counts, all of the necessary information, link to the state cabinet to find incentive information and what kind of programs can help you with your project, and then of course hopefully contact us so we can help get the project through. Just because you build a website doesn't mean that anybody uses it. That's one of the most important aspects to market one of these types of things. So we have rearranged our marketing budget in such a way that where gone are the days of us spending thousands and thousands of dollars of glossy pictures for an 8.5 by 11 to go in Site Selector magazine or the Lane Report or whatnot, or to try to raise money to put together a billboard campaign that we can put on the side of the road where we have tens of thousands of people who may see the message, but ultimately we don't know if any of them are in the market for what it is we're trying to sell. So one of the routes that we've taken is we've invested in Google AdWords for our community. Again, this is something that while commercial real estate brokers and real estate professionals are using this technology, no other economic development organization in the state is using Google AdWords to market their county. The significance of this is that if somebody is out, and if you're not familiar with AdWords, if somebody is searching for, say, commercial space in Kentucky, and they're entering that into a Google search, chances are you're going to find a lot of real estate websites that will pop up in your search results. Well, by purchasing Google AdWords, we can actually tailor specific sites to searches so that way when someone searches for this, our ad pops up, and when they click it, we know that they're looking for the very thing that it was that they searched. So it gives us a little better idea of how we can actually track what the investment of our marketing dollars is, and it's quite exceptional. We just started using this technology in February of this year, and since that time, we have generated over 1,800 qualified visitors to our website. Some of those have reached out to us. We're working with the brokerage community to make sure that we can have an opportunity to stay in the conversation. We don't know if they're going to call us or not, but we do know that they're looking at the sites that we put forward and that there's contact information both for the broker or the agent who represents that site and then also for our office. Sometimes we get those calls, sometimes we don't. But it still gives us a better sense of how our money's being spent compared to some old school methods through print and even radio ads. We also have an email marketing initiative where we have hundreds of site selectors and real estate brokers across the country who we're talking to about Oldham County. We send them featured listings. We send them information about infrastructure improvements that are happening in the area and the region, and we're trying to generate a dialogue that way. So my message to you is that we're spending our dollars wisely, and we're reaching more qualified people that we can actually track for a fraction of the cost we've done in the past. Another initiative is the Retail Development Initiative that I was here to speak with you about a few months back. As we talk to national headquarters and we talk to businesses that we'd like to see come here and make home in Oldham County, one of the questions they ask us regularly is, where are my people going to eat? Where are they going to entertain? And then we get into the subject of having amenities here in Oldham County. It's probably the most common question we're asked when we leave the office is, when are we going to get a Chick-fil-A? When are we going to get a steakhouse? And some of those types of things. Now, we want those things, but unfortunately, those types of projects don't grow our tax base, they don't diversify our tax base, and they actually can sometimes be quite costly to have in a community, depending on the infrastructure that has to be put in to support them. However, we feel like this is an important part of what our role is, and so we've taken this on to move into the retail region, and we've done that because of your partnership with us as well as the City of LaGrange and the City of Crestwood. The Buxton Initiative is in its implementation phase. We've gone through the first part of that where they have assessed our community and they've looked at deep demographic and consumer spending habits to the point where they can tell per household, per person, what individual consumer spending habits are. Now, these things are supposed to be anonymous, but however, what it does is help them paint a picture for someone that we would reach out to try to invite to Oldham County. So traditionally, this worked in the past in such a way to where, let's say that our chamber were to reach out to a target and say, we want you to come to Oldham County. Assuming we were talking to the right person at that target, they would look back at us and say, okay, well, tell us about Oldham County. And once we tell them how many rooftops we have and what our population is, they'd say, well, you're not ready for us. And then they might not answer the phone the next time we call. So the Buxton Initiative, what it helps us do is actually take a look at some of those numbers and give a better look to that community, to that retailer. So if Target were to say to us, tell us about Oldham County, we can say this is how many people we have in Oldham County, and when they say that's not enough, this is where Buxton can step in on our behalf and say they don't have that many people here, but they actually do have the consumer spending power, and we have actually qualified them as a good match for your business. So at this point in this stage, Buxton has provided us with 20 matches, and they are a mix of retail, fast food, fast casual restaurants, and full-service restaurants. We requested this first year. It's a 3-year agreement. We requested that this first year that we try to lean heavily towards restaurants, since that's one of the major draws that the community, or one of the major things that the community is asking for. Before we even made this decision, we had a conversation with local restaurant owners and asked them, what would you think if we were to reach out to more restaurants? And they said, please reach out to more restaurants. So this is something we feel like we're doing that is going to help build up our employees who are here, and of course, hopefully offer some more options to our community. And then also, in addition to being able to make those matches and try to find spots for these retailers that we're going to reach out to, we also are provided with a powerful data tool that will allow us to have access to the same information to the point where we can tell how much hamburger is purchased at the grocery store in a given area versus poultry. These types of tools, we've already started working with some of our local business owners as we've reached out to them and asked, what is it you would like to know about consumer spending habits in Oldham County? Hopefully, this can help them better manage their inventory and make them more competitive in the work environment that we have. Then we have our Oldham County Healthcare Accelerator. This is a project we've been working on for about a year now. We're in a conversation still to have this accelerator join Oldham County. And this is part of a bigger picture effort. When you look at how this county has developed over the years, of course, it's developed as a residential community because of the wonderful schools and the great quality of life. But as you look at the businesses that we have in Oldham County, we have such a wide variety. You can't really point to one individual business and find a sector that actually is heavier than one or the other. This creates a little bit of a problem when we try to attract new businesses to Oldham County, in the sense that when we ask them to come to Oldham County, why should we be there? We don't have any one particular industry that we can point to say, well, look at all of your counterparts who are here. So the idea behind the accelerator is that an accelerator works somewhat like an incubator, in that an incubator would take a new business in, help them formulate their business plan and start to execute their business plan. An accelerator is a phase after an incubator, to where all of those types of things have been achieved, and now an accelerator has a group of leaders who will help them be in contact with venture capitalists and get funding mechanisms, and also take their products and goods to market. We would love to have this type of activity in Oldham County. An accelerator that has a cohort of roughly 6 to 12 per year of these types of companies would be bringing in biomed and IT technology, cutting edge, innovative companies that would be able to grow and learn right here in Oldham County, that would give us an opportunity to build relationships with them, hopefully providing us with an opportunity to get them to make Oldham County their home. But even if that doesn't happen, at least give us another piece to point to show what's happening in Oldham County. When we look across at some of the businesses we have here, with Appel's Pharmaceuticals, with Revon Systems, with Liberate Medical, which those three businesses alone were referred to in Business First as a small biomed hub in Crestwood, Kentucky. We think this is somewhere we can get some traction and promote and invite more of these types of companies to be here, to generate some interest in being here with our educated workforce. There's also information technology through the Code Louisville program. The CEO of Revon Systems is Ted Smith. As I mentioned, they're located in Crestwood, but prior to his role there, Dr. Smith was the Chief Innovation Officer for Mayor Fisher in the city of Louisville. And he came up with this idea of Code Louisville, which is now a national study because of the success of it. But it is a free 12-week program that would allow anybody to come in, go through a 12-week training that would prepare them to be an IT professional. And since the time that they've been growing in Louisville, they've placed over 125 graduates in IT positions. We've had Code Louisville out here on multiple occasions. We have planned and we have accommodated their ability to be here. They're currently working with some of our local employers, including the Rawlings Group, to see if there's a particular curriculum that they can create that will specifically help Rawlings as they're making their hires. And currently, it's just a matter of logistics and figuring out when they're going to be able to get their fill the classes up here in Oldham County. So we're excited about that. Some of the types of roles that they hire for or that they produce candidates for are listed below. And then, of course, we have a lot of new exciting projects. We have, through software companies, information technology or IT, assisted living, pharmaceutical, multiple hotels, restaurants, wineries, distilleries, and breweries. Of course, everybody notices we have significant growth that's happening in our county. So I'm going to stop there. Of course, we're going to be talking a little bit more when we discuss Oldham. But thank you for your time, and do you have any questions for us?
Does anybody have any questions for David regarding economic development activity in the Chamber of Commerce? Measure Dye.
Thank you, David, for coming out today. Me and David speak sort of regular about just what he went over, and I can give you my 2 cents worth. You know, I'm like a lot of the older guys here on the, I guess, Chris, you're the youngest one of the group. Well, that's a good thing. You know, I've had, you know, it's getting this technology and using iPhone and all that. I'm from the old school. So taking on technology has been difficult, but when you sit down, and he really went through this quickly, but when you sit down and you start talking about how you can go to the computer and this Oldham sites, if you ever have time to sit down one-on-one, any one of you magistrates, and really get to talk to him about these things, you really see where the glossy magazine stuff that we've done in the past, it's just not done that way anymore. That's the way I think of it. But if you can sit down with him over a cup of coffee, he can really get you revved up. I mean, there's a lot of things that we're doing here that you know, it's all in just, I mean, I guess are you still crawling at this point?
No, we're starting to get our feet under this.
Are you starting? Yeah. I think that you're going to find that a lot of this is going to come to fruition very quickly. But he got me sold on it. I mean, because I think the judges use this phrase several times. You don't know what you don't know, and you'd be surprised how much we really didn't know. So I really commend all the work that you've done on you and your staff, and not just you. It's you and us and them out there. So, I mean, I'm excited for you all. Really am.
Thank you.
Hey.
All right, thank you, David. In the interest of time, let's go on to the next presentation here.
All right.
Has to do with the Oldham LaGrange Development Authority.
I may need some help with questions on this one. I have with me today our board chairman, Jim Tutt, and our treasurer, Blake Hazelton, to talk about the Oldham Reserve, the progress we're making in Oldham Reserve. We're very excited about what has been going on there. I think that I have a few slides just to kind of remind everybody what the structure of how the board works and what our agreement is with our partnership, and then I'll open this up to questions as well. The noticeable difference in the annual budget this year is that we had to allocate through the City of LaGrange and through Fiscal Court's partnership money set aside for Pond 5 mitigation on the project. If there are any questions about that, I'm probably going to defer these to Blake and Jim. But in addition to that, just to give you an overview, the Oldham board is made up of 6 appointees, 3 from the county and 3 from the city. Jim Tutt has been with us here for a few years as our chairman. Former Deputy Judge John Black is our vice chairman, and then Blake Hazelton's been a longtime member and also our treasurer. Also, George Flickner, Magistrate Dye, and former Judge Executive Dwayne Murner make up that board. That board entered into a partnership with a master development agreement with John Hollenbach, Greg Oakley, and Talmadge Hawker, and Chris George some years ago, and we are here today to talk a little bit about that progress under that partnership. Just to remind everybody, Oldham Reserve is it's a microcosm of the overall effort for economic development throughout the county. Oldham Reserve is our county's #1 job creation asset. But the project objectives are the same as what we have for our organization, and those are to diversify the tax base, create quality, sustainable jobs, and improve our county's infrastructure. There's an amended master agreement that this group is working under with OR Partners, which is a fiscally responsible approach to this partnership, in which the county and the city had worked this out, that OR Partners, over the 15 years of this agreement, at the end of 5 years after the notice to proceed on the I-71 overpass, which was completed in the fall of 2015, that OR Partners would be responsible for 10% of the bond debt, 50% of the bond debt 10 years after that notice to proceed, and 100% of the bond debt 15 years after the notice to proceed. They are responsible for overseeing the marketing and the development of the campus. We are currently, as of January of this year, we have passed the 3-year mile marker for this particular agreement. And their collaboration, they have regular communication with our economic development staff, very regular communication with us, and then they present to the Oldham board every other month in an effort to be more transparent and, open better lines of communication with our group. They are currently contracted with McCarthy Strategic Solutions, which is a lobbying group out of Frankfurt, to help the efforts that this body has gone through, as well as the City of LaGrange, our organization, a lot of our local business leaders, in trying to work with the state to get a new interchange at an exit 20 where the overpass is, but also to get a lot of the necessary infrastructure improvements that we have to support the growth of the park, namely our top employer, the Rawlings Group, who I'll break down some of their numbers here in a slide or two. Just a few reminders about that amended master agreement. From the oldest side of it, oldest deliverables in that agreement were to offer leadership, funding, and the construction of the I-71 overpass, as I mentioned, that was completed in the fall of 2015, but also the construction of LaGrange Parkway. That was a very important project for those of you who had an opportunity to go out and actually drive down the parkway. It is a sight to be seen. It certainly will impact you on the effect it's going to have, not just on commuting patterns, but the overall development of the city of LaGrange and the county in general. And it is a wonderful. I went out there to take some pictures so I could put on this slide, and then the day I went out there it was raining, and there's no way I'm putting a rainy slide up there. So then also the other deliverable through the Oldham board is continued efforts to secure ramps off of I-71. I think it's worth noting that a lot of hard work that happened before I was in this position through that board, through this group, and through the city in making sure that LaGrange Parkway became a reality. For those of you, obviously many of you know, I think that it's important for the public to understand that without the efforts of people like Don Basham and some of the people on our board to really put forth an effort and get that in under the wire, it literally was a week or two before that project was able to get let, where the Governor Bevin was moving into office and had already made it known that he was going to pause funding for a lot of projects. We likely would not be seeing the fruition of this project for many years had that effort not been done. So that is a very commendable effort on behalf of the development community here. And just talk to you about some of the milestones. I mean, this is a multi-tenant, high-end business park, and over the years we've had, of course, our anchor tenant in the Rawlings Group there. We've completed a lot of the infrastructure, but there's a lot of work that still needs to go, and namely because the Rawlings Group continues to grow. They moved here in 2005 with 500 employees, and they've grown to currently over 1,350. They're adding 40 new jobs every 60 days at an average salary of $77,000 per year. Approximately 35% of those Oldham employees are Oldham Countyans. They're on track to, and their goals, the last communications we had with them regarding this was to be at 2,000 employees by the year 2019. So obviously we have traffic issues that are caused at exit 22. And fortunately, through the work of Judge Vogel's office and Jim Urban, our Planning and Development Director, we have some improvements that are coming along to exit 22 with the Fiscal Court Economic Development Committee looking at the potential improvements to Commerce Parkway and even the traffic light that will be going at Commerce Parkway and 393. We have significant changes in our commuting patterns that will be happening very soon, much to the that everybody's very excited about, especially the people that are affected by this type of growth. I think that when we see the traffic light go in at Commerce and 393, we're going to notice a big change in the commuting patterns of Rawlings employees in that they won't have to sit in a line for a long time to take a dangerous left turn. So I think we can see a lot of improvements. With the ramp improvements, hopefully that will be continuing sometime soon. I think we're going to have significant increase in the ability of people being able to get where they need to get safely. But in addition to that, an interchange is an important part of this project. It's an important part of us marketing this project. People want to know, what is my access going to be? How am I going to get in and out? Where are things going to be before I commit my money to this? So those are things that are, while we want something to happen immediately, we are currently, there's an active conversation going on regarding the park that looks very good. But in addition to having some infrastructure within the park where we can have a project land now, we have a lot of improvements we need to do to fill that park out. So this is kind of a sense of where we are with Oldham Reserve, and I turn it over to you for any questions that you have.
Does anybody have any questions regarding progress at Oldham Reserve? I think, most of us are fairly familiar with what's happening. And, when I was in high school, I read a book called Waiting for Godot. You remember that book? Of course, that was, the entire book was waiting for Godot, and by the end, he still hadn't come. And I'm hoping that's not the history of our office park.
It certainly will not be, Judge.
But something's going to break soon. I'm sure of it, because we've been able to achieve more and more infrastructure, more and more transportation access, and it's the good work that you and the other board members of Oldham are doing is going to pay off, and I'm sure of that. So
I agree.
Magistrate Tice?
There's no doubt it's going to pay off, and time will only tell. A couple of things we need to say, and you mentioned Don Basham and all of the previous and current Oldham board members and the endless hours they put in without any pay. I mean, this is all gratis for Oldham County. You just don't realize what all they've done, and it's tremendous, their efforts. We're just very, very fortunate we've had all those people along the road. I said at lunch, and I'll say it again today as a fellow magistrate, when we first came on court here, we were talking about Oldham Reserve one day, and he says, until we get that road in, our frustrations are going to be there, but we're going to start to see things happen. And I truly believe when I heard that is absolutely the truth. And I think I think our group's starting to get a little sense of that. So it's a long time coming, but all of the major developments not all of them, but several of the major developments in Jefferson County, River Park, which I'll mention, and I think Eastgate, did I get that correct? Or is it East Point?
Yes.
East Point, excuse
Yes.
me. Eastgate's shopping center, East Point's the industrial park. Both of those had their time that it took to get the ball rolling, and it's like a snowball, it just picks up. So I want to commend them, commend you, and we're on the right track. It's just going to take a little time, and we're rolling.
We'll get there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Magistrate Eldridge.
Thank you, Judge. Just want to echo what Magistrate Tice has said. I think we were blessed to have the right board members at the right time. You know, Don was there at the right time, Judge Myrna there at the right time, and we've progressed. You know, I said all along that this was a project for our children and grandchildren. It wasn't a fire sale tomorrow. But I also want to commend you and echo the fact, I believe the fact is that right now Rawlings is already paying more in taxes than the whole Simpsonville Outlet Mall, correct?
That's correct.
Yeah. So we're very quick to say, oh, we've only got one business. What we ought to be saying is, hey, we've got one great business.
Right.
You know, so Rawlings has been a blessing to this town, done a lot of great development, a lot of great things for the community, great things for the government, and it's just a super tenant out there, and we're very happy to have Rawlings, and I think we often pass that over, how great Rawlings is. So I want to thank Rawlings and thank you all for all the work you've done.
Thank you.
All right, well, thank you very much.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
you and other members of the Oldham board for being here today,
Thank you.
and the chamber board as well. Now I'm going to ask that we go into executive session to discuss some pending possible litigation and on one hand, and real estate transfer on another. The way these are listed on executive session, I'm going to ask that we do number 2 first. We had a guest here from out of town waiting for quite a while to address us, and so we'll do the first one first, and the second one first, and the first one second, if that's all right with everyone. All right, Magistrate Eldridge.
Judge, I'd like to make a motion that we go into executive closed session for KRS 61-810C, and immediately after, while we're still out, to go into executive session for KRS 61-810B.
Second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
We'll probably be out for 30 minutes.